Alright guys, in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about being in a relationship or simply dating a girl who is working, employed, or not working, not employed, in the Philippines, the pros and cons of both. Stick around. Alright guys, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about this because me and a viewer were talking just the other day and we had discussed this, and he had asked me, what do you think? Do you think it's better to date somebody who's employed and has a job and something going on in their life, or they're not employed? And you know, it really does depend, but I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience and what I think about it. Now, what I necessarily think about it and my opinion on it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right one. Everybody's got their own opinion. I'd like to hear about those. Please comment down below about that. But when I first got to the Philippines, now 7 years ago, at least next month, 7 years ago. By the way, I'm 8 days away from getting married now. 8 days, November 11th. So it is right around the corner. So I will be releasing video footage of that when that happens. And we are also shopping for land right now as well. So I've been putting up some YouTube shorts, but I'll probably do a full video at some point when I find something that we like. But back to the topic on hand. So when I first arrived here, I had met a girl and she was working in a call center, and she worked 5 days a week. She was working the overnight position, so she was working graveyard. I think her shift was like from 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. till like 7 in the morning, because I was working also. I was working in the same, I was working in IT park in Cebu City. And so by the time I was going to work, or at least about an hour later or so, or yeah, around that, she was getting off of work. Or she was getting off of work, and then I would be going to work an hour later. And also when she was going to work, while I had been home about 3 hours or so by that point. But you know, she would be sleeping during the day, even if it was my day off, you know, she might be sleeping. So it was a hard relationship just based on that kind of a work schedule. Now, dating or being in a relationship with a girl who works in a call center here has a lot of benefits. Usually they have some life experience. They've probably finished college. They probably speak English well. And so, you know, they have some life experience with budgeting and having their own bills and things like that. And so I think that's a lot of pros in my opinion. But the negatives were, you know, I wanted to perhaps on the weekend when I was off say, hey, let's go down and do this waterfall. Let's go to Bohol. And her schedule was kind of all over the place. You know, she would have one day off and then another day separate. Sometimes she could work out where she could get 2 days off, but it was hard to get the same days off as me. And, you know, sometimes she would say, well, let's, you know, when I get off of work, we'll just go and do something if you're off. But the poor girl was exhausted by that point. You know, she really needed to sleep at that point. So that was one experience. Now, I had another experience where I've had experiences where girls were unemployed, and there was several benefits for that, which I'll discuss first, and then some negatives. The benefits were that we could just go take a trip at any point. You know, we didn't have to worry about scheduling. That was fantastic. So, you know, I'd say, hey, this weekend we're going to go here. We're going to go stay overnight. We're going to go to Bohol. We'll go do this. And it was no problem, right? But it also meant that I got pestered a lot. I mean, text messages, just, hey, what are you doing? And I'd be like, I'm at work. You know, I can't really talk. And it wouldn't matter how often I would tell her that. I would say, listen, I'm doing something. I'm at work. I'm busy. I can't just sit there and talk. And she'd be like, call me on your lunch hour. Let me meet you at your lunch hour. And it was just day in and day out. It was just too much time on her hand. You know, she had nothing else going on. Not even really friends or activities or anything to do. She wasn't going to school. And while it was great for some things like traveling and, you know, after work we could go out, or it was nice to be able to go home and there she was, you know, we could hang out and do things, but it got a bit annoying sometimes, you know, it's just constantly there, always, no matter what. And you know what they say? They say idle hands are the devil's plaything. And if they have too much time, they start wondering, well, who are you with? What are you doing? Can you take a picture? You know, she wanted to know where I was, what I'm doing. And I really just chalk it up to her having too much time on her hands. Now, I've had relationships back and forth of girls employed, not working, and I have to say that I prefer a girl who is employed. The problem in the Philippines is that they are really overworked sometimes. What do I mean by that? I mean that it's not unheard of that they are working 6 days a week. It's not unheard of that they're working 10, 12-hour shifts in a day for low wages. But that's the downside. The other downside is that they just don't bring in a lot of money, you know. I mean, but it does give them some life experience, you know. They have the experience of paying bills and having to budget out to do things, and, you know, responsibility. So it does teach them a lot. And I have noticed girls that I've dated or had a relationship with that had no experience in working or anything. They were just horrible at money. They didn't know how to budget. They didn't, it was like when money did come, it was like, you know, let's just splurge and use the money, and it was gone. You know, they didn't know how to take care of that money and use it wisely. So I still overall find that the best thing is a girl who does work. The key, though, is finding a girl who works a reasonable job with reasonable hours and shifts. And that part is tricky. Because if you find a girl in a call center, chances are she's working overnight. And I don't know about you guys, but myself, I would prefer that we have the evenings together at least, you know, and you're sleeping in the same bed together, and not and that you're not, you know, sleeping alone at night while she's off at work. So yeah, if you can find a girl at least who works maybe during the day, morning or afternoon. Now I have a friend here in Duma that his girlfriend, serious girlfriend, that works in a call center, and you know, she'll come home and be sleeping, and he finds that he basically has to leave the apartment because she's trying to get sleep. He can't just hang out and try to watch TV because they have like a big studio, so it's going to disturb her. So he brings a book and goes off to the coffee shop, and guess what? He's there until she's waking up. Every day he does that because of the time, the schedule difference. And, you know, she's sleeping and he's awake. So anyway, I'd like to know your guys' thoughts on this. Now, the one thing that I've always said, and I still stand behind it, even though some people say, you know, it's simpish behavior, you know, being a simp, and I don't really think it is. But I think if you're in a relationship with a Filipina and you tell her you don't want her to work anymore, at that point, I think you need to be responsible for her income that she was bringing in, because perhaps her family was counting on that. She was used to having that income to, you know, purchase her daily needs and manicures and all that kind of stuff going out. And if it's your idea and you want her to quit because you just want somebody who's with you a lot, who's at home and can travel with you and do things with, then I think it's our responsibility to be paying her monthly salary, whether it's 10, 15K a month. It's really, I think it's our responsibility. The problem is what if you get a girl to quit her job? It's your idea. You want her to quit because you want to travel. And then let's say a month later, you're like, oh boy, you know what? Now that she's here with me 24/7, I'm finding out we're really not so compatible. At this point, you've caused this girl, you've disrupted her life, moved her in perhaps, told her to quit her job. How long should you give her some money until she's back on her feet, or should you? Now, I had talked about this in a previous video, 6 months ago, a year ago, I can't remember, and people are like, I don't owe her anything. But in my opinion, you probably do. Just curious about that, what you guys think about it. So anyway, do you want a girl who's employed or unemployed? Working or not working? Benefits, there's pros and cons for both. For me, again, at least initially, I prefer a girl who works. That's my opinion on the matter. So anyway, if you are looking to meet a nice girl, check out the dating sites I recommend down in the links below. Check out my website, geointhephilippines.com, where you can book a consultation with me if you are moving or traveling out the Philippines and you have questions. Check out my Geo Travel Essentials for all the things I highly recommend for living or traveling out to the Philippines. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.